Good day. Africans are living their culture, custom, and tradition. Those days, we used to have griot that tells us story, that gives us the oral performance of poetry. But these days, we no longer have that in Africa. But I'll be standing as a griot today to be discussing the orature, the oral form, the oral rendition of poetry. I'll be discussing spoken word and African poetry. Spoken word and African poetry refers to the blend of spoken word performance with the themes, styles, and tradition of African poetry. The performance and the spoken word are what? Blending with the themes, styles, and tradition of African poetry. Spoken word emphasize expressive oral delivery with rhythm, emotion, and social commentary, often engaging live audience. African poetry draws from oral tradition. We know we cannot talk about African poetry without referring to the oral tradition, celebrating identity, our cultures, heritage through metaphors, symbolism, and themes like community and liberation. This fusion preserves African storytelling. The fusion of the intersection of different culture, identity, heritage brings about what? African poetry. The fusion preserves African storytelling, addresses contemporary issues like identity and social justice, and promotes cultural pride through performance. I wrote an anthology of thought titled The Anthology of Thought. You will see it in Amazon by Adewale Oyedele, The Anthology of Thought. The Anthology of Thought, I'll briefly give us a synopsis of what that anthology entails. It's a collection of different poetry put together to change our concept, precept, and mindset about life. The Anthology of Thought, A Journey Through Life's Layer by Adewale Oyedele, aka Freaky Fresh. In the Anthology of Thought, it takes readers on a profound journey through the complexity of existence, offering a collection of poetry that explores the delicate interplay between nature, spirituality, metaphysics, and the psychology of human life. This thought-provoking anthology invites readers to reflect on the experiences that shape our understanding of the world, while challenging us to reconsider our place within the society. Each poem in these collections is a window into the myriad forces that influence our lives, from the unseen realm of the spirit to the tangible reality of our social interactions. The verses touch on themes of self-discovery, societal expectations, and the quest for deeper meaning in an ever-changing world. With wisdom drawn from both personal experience and universal truth, the Anthology of Thought illuminates how our inner worlds are shaped by the world around us and offers insight into how we can navigate the complexity of modern life with clarity and purpose. This is more than just a book of poetry. It is an exploration of thought, emotions, and existence. Whether reflecting on the metaphysical mysteries of life, the spiritual forces that guide us, or the psychological intricacies of the human experience, each poem beckons readers to pause, contemplate, and perhaps shift their perspective on life. Through this collection, readers are invited into only to witness life experiences, but to live them more consciously. Each verse serves as both a mirror and a guide, offering moments of reflection and inspiration that can change the way we view ourselves and the world around us. Perfect for those who seek to connect with deeper truths. The Anthology of Thought is a must-read for anyone on a journey of self-awareness, enlightenment, and personal growth. It's an invitation to think, to feel, and to ultimately transform from how you've been before. You'll be able to transform through this anthology of thought, because we have different perspectives from this anthology of thought. Now, let's look at the reason why you need to read this anthology of thought. Why you will love this book? I'm going to give you some reasons. One of it is profound insights. It explores spiritual, metaphysical, and psychological themes that challenges conventional thinking. The way we think conventionally is going to challenge that our thinking perspective, the instinct. It will make us prudent. Another is life-challenging perspective. Let the poems inspire a deep understanding of your role in society and the world at large. The poem is going to influence, is going to inspire, is going to affect your deep understanding of your role in the society. It's going to build your perspective of how the society should be influenced or how it should look like. Another is a reflective and transformative. Thought-provoking verses that invite you to questions, reflect, and evoke your mind. The lines. Once you start reading the lines, the verses, or let me say stanzas, you start seeing how your thought is being provoked through those lines. You start seeing what you have, the attributes you have in you. You start thinking of how to what? Make sure this attribute is being known. How you be able to what? Show it to the world. Lastly, I will say it has a poetic journey. A poetic journey, a seamless blend of beauty, wisdom, and emotional depth. If you are reading to explore the layers of human existence and transform the way you see the world, the anthology of thought is your companion on the path. Now, I'll be starting with the first poetry from the anthology of thought, which is a collection of poetry by me, Oyedele Adewale Olamide, popularly known as Freaky Fresh. Now, I'll read the first poem from the anthology of thought. For those of you that have not gotten the poetry, you need to order it from Amazon. It's just a few dollars. Now, tongue. The first one is tongue. I'm reading it line by line because this is the oral rendition of African poetry. I'm taking the position of a contemporary griot. Since we are neglecting our culture, custom, and tradition, I'm trying to revamp them back. Tongue. I'm reading stanza 1. A muscular organ in the mouth. Thousands of taste buds cover. But why can't the sensation of meditating taste organ be covered? It's over to you, the speaker, that sounds like rattle of guns. Your tongue should be pleasant always. Stanza 2. Many have gone, many have left, and more are still living, due to the reflection of your mind through your tongue. Who have you been able to gain its heart with your tongue? Who have you mentored with your tongue? The tongue is powerful than the pen and the sword. Check around you. How many persons is around you when you speak? How many hearts could feel the melody of your tongue? This is not all about the diction, but the tradition of what you need to caution. Like the Atlanta, your tongue can make the heart go deeper. Happiness and sadness the tongue can bring. Do you know the state of the writer of this poet? I am talking to you, the reader. I am talking to you, the one with the heavy tongue. You are a leader, but how do you lead with your tongue? You are a boss, but how do you address your workers? God spoke in the rightful tongue. How do you speak in the rightful tongue? I see the people is not happy with your tongue when you speak. You know it's a graceful truth, but who could face your bad tongue again to see you, to tell you the truth? Your tongue is not different from others, but how do you use your tongue? This poem was written by me. One of the poems from the Anthology of Thought. This is the first poem in the Anthology of Thought. Now, this poem now, we could call it a didactic poem. Why is it a didactic poem? I will need to tell you the quality of a didactic poem. These are the reasons why I call this my poem a didactic poem. Let's look at the purpose. The poem seeks to teach a moral lesson on how to use your tongue. about the power of speech and the responsibility of using it wisely. Didactic poetry is characterized by its instructive nature, and this poem aligns with that by addressing the ethical implication of speech. Another is the tone of a didactic poem. The tone is reflective, advisory, and cautionary, which are common features of a what? A didactic poetry. The tone used. Theme. The poem emphasizes moral and philosophical themes, moral, such as accountability to your tongue, kindness, and the consequences of careless or harmful words, aiming to impact wisdom to the reader. In addition to being didactic, the poem also has element of free verse. There is no rhyme scheme because it does not follow a strict rhyme scheme or meter, focusing instead of the natural flow of thought and expression. Now, I'll be talking about the background of the poem, Tongue by Adewale Oyedele, aka Freaky Fresh. The poem, Tongue, explores the immense power of speech, emphasizing the dual nature of tongue as a source of both life and destruction. You can see the juxtaposition of what tongue does. Rooted in the moral and philosophical tradition, it delves into how words can influence emotions, relationship, and society at large. How the tongue can influence these three: your emotion, people's emotion, relationship with people, and society at large. Now let's look at some of the key points in the background. We have cultural and moral significance. In many African and global traditions, the tongue is a metaphor for the power of communication and expression. It can heal or harm, depending on how it is used. The poet draws attention to the ethical responsibility that comes with speaking, urging readers to use their words with care and purpose.